don't seem to understand. Earth isn't yours to conquer.
You miss you waiting on the phone. I choose when you coming home. Right 5 minutes see alone. FaceTime when you get home. Oh please lay it on my line. Right here, lay it on my mind. Next day on the sunrise. Please shawty, let a nigga shine. Time to unwind. Know the world ain't.
So, Affinity Train Book 4 or whatever is over. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be quite honest with you. I was very hyped for Infinity Train. I think if y'all saw a couple years ago, I hyped it up, but I thought Infinity Train, I didn't know. Here's my thing. In anthology type of series, excuse me, I hope I get the word out. Anthologies, I don't like anthologies. I don't like this. I just don't like it. I always like a story-driven type of thing. It depends on anthologies type of things, like a film maybe, but a series, I'm not a big fan of those. Like I said, American Horror Story. Certain seasons are better than others, but I'm not a fan of those type of genres. I just don't like anthologies so much. I mean, it gives the creators and the writers freedom to do what the hell they want, and I always think that's a great thing. But I just wasn't a fan of that type of format because it just doesn't fit into that format for me. Lord behold, they did that for the Infinity Train because I thought Infinity Train was going to be focusing on a certain character getting off that train. The what's the game I call it? I can't remember what I call it. The Infinite Train of Void, I like to say. But they did it in a way where each season was going to be different characters, and I just didn't like that. Then it was like a 10-minute, 11-minute type of format, which I said, this is not going to work. This is not what, it's not going to, it's no different from any other show. And that was the biggest problem with the show. It felt like every other cartoon show. And it's not every other cartoon show. If you watch it, it's something different, but it can be different in a 22-minute format. And that's why I was hoping for that, because something like that, a long story-driven type of show, you could go 22 minutes. You could do this, you could do that, but they did it. And I kept sitting there looking like, who thought this was a good idea? And it was Cartoon Network being cheap. And I'm sitting there like, no wonder you guys are not going to succeed because you keep going to that same well of 11-minute formats. 11-minute formats. At the end of the day, a 22-minute show will probably do good numbers or great numbers if you give it a chance. This is one of those shows that deserved it. And plus, like, I'm not a fan of the anthologies, but you make it 22 minutes, you could have had something. It's something different. You've never seen that before. But they stuck to the well of 11-minute formats, and it didn't work. And I think the hype of the show, one, is Cartoon Network, they really do a good job of promoting it. Two, um, it seems to me like the 11-minute format kind of hurt it a little bit of its storytelling. Granted, people like the big YouTubers gonna be like, no, it still works. No, it did not work. You can look at it and say, if it had a little bit more time, if it fleshed out certain elements of this could have been great. And that was the problem. It just there was something there, but you could tell it was missing something. A 22-minute format, I believe, would have made that show something to the test of times. Now, for it to get canceled, now the show got canceled for many reasons. One, people are bringing up it's like, oh well, it got canceled because the HBO and the AT&T merger and all this other stuff, and there's a lot of things factors into that, but probably the biggest factor is it just didn't have enough hype. Granted, the numbers are doing well now due to the fact that the show was getting canceled, but it's like you could tell. I mean, even though I watched a little bit, I just like, I mean, like it's a show that I liked, and like I said, I get the concept. I like the way they're going, but the anthologies does not work for me. I don't like it. It's just I've never been a fan of that type of format. I granted it's great for the creator. If let's say Owen Daniels worked on season 1 and someone else worked on season 2, it works for that thing because you got two different ideas, and one season could be better than the other, like American Horror Story. However, like I said, I don't like that format, and that's another reason why I turn away from it. And again, like a lot of people didn't understand it because they really didn't come out and say it was an anthology when it first came out. People thought, okay, season 1, boom, and the next season with new characters, and people were like, what the fuck is going on? Is this a time skip? Like, they really didn't do a good explaining of what Infinity Train was, if you get where I'm coming from. And I think that was the biggest problem with Infinity Train. It just didn't know what... It didn't have a good sense of what it was. And not saying the show didn't know what it was, it just... Cartoon Network didn't know what to do with it. And then putting it into 11-minute or 10-minute format, granted, you probably say, well, it can work, but it's like, no, I think a 22-minute format would have done that show justice. That was the biggest problem right now we got with the show. The show was done not justice, it was done poorly. And here we are today looking at it, and it's still arguably a show, a missed opportunity. And you see that with Cartoon Network a lot with their programming, is they have something, and they boom, boom. Let's go to 11 minutes. Boom, boom. Let's go to this. Boom, boom, boom. And here we are today, and it's just a problem. And it gets worse and worse and worse. And this is a prime example of what not to do when you have something like this. It's crazy. It's so crazy. And as a fan, it's just one of these things where I just shake my head at times and be looking like, what are you guys are doing for the most part? So it like I said, I'm on the fence of, I understand why certain things were done certain ways, but you could tell if it was done a 22-minute format, I believe Infinity Train would have been up there with Gravity Falls as one of the best modern cartoon shows to date. You got the people like the Round Table and all of them saying, oh, go support the show, go support the show. But let's call a spade a spade. Call out the problems with something they got going on with Cartoon Network. It's a 22-minute format. It will do fine in a 22-minute format. Everything doesn't have to be 11 minutes. That's the problem. Every other show feels the same. And when Infinity Train comes out, something that is uniquely different, and it was uniquely different, it follows that same formula. And the formula is the 11-minute format. Not the comedy stick, not the story-driven, but the 11-minute format. And that's why we got the show, that's why we got these several things. When you look at damn Disney with the Owl House and Affinio, you got something different. These shows are different. Granted, they do have 11-minute formats here, but they're different. They're in a 22-minute format, which tells them a good overarching story. And when they want to do a special, guess what? It works to that environment. And that's the biggest problem with Cartoon Network. They're lazy. And I'm looking at this show as a missed opportunity, missed potential. Something could have been great, and here we are. But, I mean, it is what it is. But as always, guys, like, subscribe. Peace. Have a Johnson day. See you guys in the next video.